In the shadows of Bamako's black market, a boy named Amadou, mocked as the child who never grows, cowers in an iron cage. His own uncle, cold and heartless, trades him for coins without a backward glance. Yet a stranger, Eleanor Brooks, steps forward, her eyes fierce with compassion. She pays a steep price, vowing to shield this fragile soul. What secrets does Amadou carry? Why does his voice stir hearts? Join us on this journey. Subscribe, share where you're listening, and when. What's your guess for his destiny? Stay to uncover a tale of music, mystery, and redemption. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the Malian village in hues of amber and dust. Amadou, barely 5, darted through the bustling market, his small frame weaving between stalls of kola nuts and woven baskets. His wide eyes sparkled, but his heart sank as a group of boys jeered. "Hey, tiny one, still waiting to grow?" Their laughter stung, sharp as the desert wind. Amadou clutched a mango, his bare feet kicking up sand as he fled toward the mud brick house where safety waited. Inside, Aisha, his mother, knelt by the hearth, her voice weaving a tale of Mali's ancient leaders, men who strummed kora strings to unite tribes. "Amadou, my star," she said, pulling him close, her warmth easing his shame. "Those boys don't see your heart." Her fingers brushed his cheek, dark and soft, her eyes fierce with love. Malik, his father, entered, the kora slung across his back like a warrior's shield. "Ready, little one?" he asked, his grin chasing away the day's hurt. That evening, under a sky ablaze with stars, the family gathered in their courtyard. Malik's calloused fingers danced over the kora, its notes rising like a river through the night. Amadou sat cross-legged, mimicking his father's movements on an imaginary instrument. "Try this," Malik said, guiding his son's hands to pluck a hesitant melody. Amadou's face lit up as the strings sang, his small voice humming along, pure and bright. Aisha clapped, her laughter mingling with the music. "Our boy's a griot already," she teased, though pride swelled in her chest. The village drumbeat called them to the central fire, where elders and children converged under the moon's silver glow. Torches flickered, casting shadows that danced with the rhythm of djembe drums. Aisha took her place among the storytellers, her voice commanding as she spun a tale of a leader whose songs quelled wars. Amadou, perched on Malik's lap, listened, entranced, his fingers twitching to the beat. When an elder called for a song, Malik nudged him. "Go on, son. Show them." Amadou hesitated, the boy's taunts echoing in his mind. But Malik's steady gaze anchored him. Stepping into the firelight, he closed his eyes, letting the night's pulse guide him. His voice rose, clear and haunting, singing Desert Wind, a melody he'd woven from the whispers of sand and stars. The crowd hushed, their murmurs of strange child fading. Even the drums stilled, captivated by the boy whose song seemed to carry the soul of Mali itself. Isha's eyes glistened, Malik's chest swelled. For a moment, Amadou was not the child who never grows, but a beacon of light. On the crowd's edge, a man lingered, his face half hidden by shadow. Kofi's eyes, sharp as a hawk's, fixed on Amadou. His lips curled, not in awe but calculation. The boy's voice, his smallness, his difference, they were currency in the markets he knew, places where innocence was sold for gold. "This one's special," he muttered, his voice low as the rustle of vipers. He slipped away unnoticed, his boots silent on the packed earth, already plotting. Back in the courtyard, Amadou nestled between his parents, the kora's final notes fading. "Did I do good?" he asked, his voice small, still tinged with doubt. Aisha kissed his forehead. "You sang like the ancestors, my love." Malik ruffled his hair. "Your heart's bigger than this desert, Amadou. Never let anyone dim it." The boy smiled, unaware of the eyes that had marked him. As the village slept, the moon hung heavy, its light pooling over the dunes. Amadou dreamed of kora strings and tales of heroes, his small chest rising and falling with hope. But beyond the village, Kofi's shadow moved, a predator circling. He knew the boy's voice could fetch a price, and in a land scarred by whispers of war, opportunities like this were rare. His fingers traced the coins in his pocket, their clink a promise of profit. The night deepened, the stars watching in silence. Amadou's song lingered in the air, a fragile thread connecting him to a destiny he couldn't yet see. Would his voice carry him to greatness or draw him into darkness? The desert held its breath, waiting. What did you think of Amadou's first song? Drop your thoughts below. Where are you reading from, and when? Guess what lies ahead for this brave boy? Stay with us. His journey's just beginning, and the twists will steal your breath. The village woke to a restless dawn, the air thick with whispers of unrest. Amadou, now 6, clung to the chora's fading echo in his heart, the memory of his moonlit song a fragile shield against the world. He trailed Malik through the market, dodging carts as his father bartered for millet. Aisha's voice drifted from a nearby stall, her stories of Mali's heroes drawing a small crowd. Amadou's eyes shone, but a distant shout shattered the moment. "They're coming!" a man cried, pointing to the horizon where dust rose like a storm. Panic erupted. Malik scooped Amadou into his arms, sprinting toward their mud brick home as screams filled the air. Aisha joined them, her face taut with fear. "Hide, my star," she whispered, shoving Amadou under the floorboards. "Stay silent, no matter what." Malik gripped her hand, his Cora abandoned by the door. Through the slats, Amadou saw boots stomp the earth, men with rifles, their voices harsh and foreign. A torch flared, and fire licked the walls. "No!" Malik roared, lunging at a soldier, only to crumple under a blow. Aisha's scream pierced the night as flames engulfed them, their silhouettes blurring in the heat. Amadou bit his fist, tears streaming, his world collapsing in a roar of fire. When silence fell, the house was ash. Villagers pulled Amadou from the rubble, his small body trembling. "Orphan now," an elder muttered, leading him to Samba, his uncle, a man with bloodshot eyes and a scowl carved deep. Samba's shack reeked of palm wine, bottles clinking underfoot. "Another mouth to feed?" he snarled, shoving Amadou inside. The boy curled in a corner, the scent of smoke still clinging to his skin. That night alone, he hummed Desert Wind, his voice a thread connecting him to Malik and Aisha. Samba staggered in, his belt raised. "Shut that noise!" he bellowed, the leather snapping against Amadou's back. The boy choked back sobs, learning that silence was safer. Days bled into weeks, each marked by Samba's rage. Amadou fetched water, scrubbed floors, and his small hands were raw. The village, scarred by the raid, offered no refuge. Children shunned him, whispering of curses. Yet in stolen moments, he sang softly, the chora's imagined strings his only comfort. One evening, as he swept the shack, Samba's laughter rumbled from the porch. A stranger's voice joined him, low, smooth, like oil over stone. Amadou peeked through a crack, his heart racing. The man, cloaked in shadow, counted coins into Samba's palm. "That boy's voice," the stranger said. "It's worth more than you owe." Samba's eyes glinted, his grin crooked. "He's nothing but trouble. Small, useless." The stranger leaned closer, his face catching the lamplight. "Kofi, the man from the firelit night." "He's special," Kofi said, his smile sharp. "The markets in Bamako will pay well for a child like him." Samba hesitated, then shrugged. "Take him, but I want more than this." Kofi's laugh was cold. "One thing first. He's not yours, is he?" Samba froze, his voice dropping. "Malik and Aisha. They found him in the desert. A nomad left him with a scribbled note. Said he was marked." Amadou's breath caught, his world tilting. "Not their son?" The words clawed at him, each one a blade. He pressed against the wall, his small frame shaking, as Kofi's voice grew eager. "Marked, you say? That's even better." Samba pocketed the coins, his laugh hollow. "Tomorrow, then. You'll have him." Kofi's boots crunched away, leaving silence heavier than the night. Amadou sank to the floor, his song stilled, the kora in his mind now a distant echo. Who was he, if not Malik and Aisha's star? The shack groaned under the desert wind, its walls closing in. Amadou's eyes burned, but tears wouldn't come. He traced the dirt floor, whispering, "Mama, Papa, who am I?" Their faces flickered in his mind, their love the only truth he knew. Yet doubt gnawed, and with it, fear. Samba's snores rattled from the next room, a countdown to betrayal. Kofi's coins gleamed in Amadou's memory, a promise of chains. Would his voice, once his light, now be his cage? The stars outside offered no answers, their light dimmed by smoke. Amadou curled tighter, his small voice daring to hum, soft as a prayer. Tomorrow loomed, a shadow he couldn't outrun. What waited in Bamako's markets? Could a boy so small carry a secret so vast? Tell us your thoughts. Where are you reading, and when? What do you fear for Amadou? Share below and stay with us. His story burns brighter, with twists that will sear your soul. The dawn broke harshly over Samba's shack, its light cruelly exposing Amadou's trembling form. The boy, now 7, clutched his knees, the sting of last night's revelation, not their son, burning deeper than Samba's belt. His uncle's heavy boots thudded closer, yanking him upright. "Move, you worthless thing!" Samba growled, his breath sour with wine. Amadou stumbled, his small hands grasping at air, as Samba dragged him into a rickety cart bound for Bamako. The desert blurred past, each jolt of the wheels tightening the knot in his chest. His song, Desert Wind, flickered in his mind, but fear choked its melody. Bamako's black market loomed, a sprawl of shadows and iron. The cart halted before a warehouse, its rusted doors groaning open to reveal a nightmare. Cages lined the walls filled with children whose eyes held only despair. Rough hands shoved Amadou into a cell, the clang of metal sealing his fate. "Stay quiet, runt," a guard snarled, mocking his slight frame. Laughter echoed, the boy who never grows, each jeer a dagger to his heart. Alone, Amadou curled tight, his fingers tracing imaginary chorus strings. He whispered his song, voice barely audible, a lifeline against the dark. A stir rippled through the market. Footsteps approached, deliberate and calm. A woman appeared, her pale face stark against the grime. Eleanor Brooks, cloaked in a worn shawl, scanned the cages with eyes that burned fiercely yet kindly. Her gaze locked on Amadou as his faint song reached her, its haunting notes cutting through the chaos. "That one," she said, her voice steady, pointing to the boy. Kofi, lounging nearby, raised an eyebrow. "Him? He's scrawny." Eleanor's lips tightened. "Name your price." Coins changed hands, Kofi's smirk widening as he pocketed the sum, unaware her intent was salvation, not ownership. Eleanor knelt by the cage, her hand gentle on the bars. "I'm taking you somewhere safe," she whispered. Amadou shrank back, distrust etched in his stare, but her warmth stirred a memory of Aisha's embrace. The guard unlocked the door, and Eleanor lifted him, his frail body light as a bird. Kofi's eyes followed them, calculating, but he said nothing. Outside, Eleanor bundled Amadou into a jeep, speeding away from Bamako's clutches. "You're free now," she said softly. Amadou, silent, clutched his song inside, unsure if freedom was real. The world shifted, a blur of skies and strange tongues. Amadou found himself in New Orleans, in a house draped with ivy, its wooden porch creaking under ancient oaks. Eleanor's home glowed with lamplight, its walls lined with books and strange instruments. "You can call me Eleanor," she said, kneeling to his level. "And you? Eli, perhaps?" Amadou shook his head, voice cracking. "Amadou." Her smile was patient. "Amadou it is." She showed him a room with a soft bed, but he froze at the window, expecting Samba's shadow. A distant saxophone wailed, its jazz notes alien yet oddly familiar, like his Kora's cry. Nights were restless. Amadou woke, gasping, the fire's roar still in his ears. He hoarded bread under his pillow, fearing hunger's return. Eleanor taught him English, her voice soothing as she pointed to words. "Home," she read, her hand on his. Amadou repeated it, the word heavy, untrusted. One evening, as she helped him bathe, Eleanor paused, her fingers brushing a star-shaped birthmark on his shoulder. Her breath caught, memories of a Malian manuscript flashing, tales of a revered lineage marked by such a sign, guardians of music and unity. She hid her shock, tucking him in with a forced smile. "Sleep, Amadou, you're safe." But safety felt fragile. Eleanor's eyes lingered on him, questions unspoken. The birthmark itched under his skin, a secret he didn't understand. He hummed Desert Wind in the dark, its notes tethering him to Malik and Aisha, whose faces grew fainter. Were they truly not his? The manuscript's weight pressed on Eleanor's mind, its pages whispering of a boy who could carry Malik's soul. She locked it away, vowing to protect him from truths he wasn't ready to bear. Outside, New Orleans pulsed, its jazz a heartbeat Amadou couldn't yet join. He stood on the porch, small against the oaks, his song a quiet defiance. What did the star on his skin mean? Why had Eleanor chosen him? The city's rhythm called, but danger's shadow lingered, unseen. What's stirring in your heart for Amadou? Share below. Where are you reading? And when? Guess what his birthmark hides. Stay close, his path twists sharper, and the truths will shake you. The New Orleans morning hummed with life, its air heavy with magnolia and promise. But Amadou, now 10, felt like a stranger in Eleanor's ivy-draped home. The star-shaped birthmark on his shoulder itched, a silent question he buried beneath his daily routine. School loomed, a brick building where laughter turned sharp. "Look, it's the tiny kid!" A boy jeered in the courtyard, shoving Amadou's slight frame. "Bet you're still in diapers." The taunts echoed Molly's market, stinging fresh. Amadou ducked his head, clutching his backpack, his song Desert Wind locked tight inside. Too fragile for this world. One girl didn't laugh. Zara, with braids swinging and eyes sharp as a hawk, stepped between them. "Leave him alone, or I'll hack your game scores to 0, she snapped, her voice fierce. The boys backed off, muttering. Amadou glanced up, wary but grateful. "Thanks," he mumbled, his accent thick. Zara grinned. "Stick with me, Amadou. I'm trouble for bullies." Her confidence sparked something in him, a flicker of hope amidst the alien chatter of English and jazz that spilled from street corners. In music class, Amadou found refuge. Ms. Harper, a teacher with a voice like molasses, caught him humming during a lesson. "What's that melody, child?" she asked, her eyes kind. Amadou froze, but her smile coaxed him. He sang a snippet of Desert Wind, its Malian notes weaving through the room. Ms. Harper clapped, delighted. "You've got a gift, Amadou. Ever thought of performing?" She handed him a flyer for a French Quarter talent contest. "Try it. You might surprise yourself." Amadou clutched the paper, doubt warring with a yearning to sing again. At home, Eleanor watched him, her heart aching at his quiet scars. She hadn't spoken of the birthmark since that night, the Malian manuscript locked in her study, its tales of a musical lineage too heavy for a boy still healing. "How's school?" she asked over dinner, her voice gentle. Amadou shrugged, hiding the bruises on his pride. "Fine," he lied, but slipped the flyer onto the table. Eleanor's eyes lit up. "A contest! I'll be there, front row." Her faith warmed him, though fear gnawed. Could he face a crowd again? Nights found Amadou in his room, crafting a new song, Desert Wind South, blending Cora echoes with the blues he heard from Bourbon Street. Zara visited, her laptop glowing as she taught him to record. "You're gonna blow them away," she said, her fingers flying over keys. Amadou smiled, her belief a lifeline. He practiced until his voice grew steady, each note a defiance of the voices calling him small. The French Quarter buzzed on contest night, neon lights painting the cobblestones in purples and greens. Amadou stood backstage, heart pounding, the crowd's murmur a distant roar. Zara adjusted his mic, whispering, "You're a star, Amadou. Own it." Eleanor squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. Ms. Harper nodded from the wings. When his name was called, Amadou stepped into the spotlight, the weight of Mali and New Orleans on his shoulders. He closed his eyes, picturing Malik's Cora, Aisha's stories, and sang. Desert Wind South soared, its fusion of desert soul and bayou heart silencing the crowd. Applause erupted, raw and wild, as Amadou's voice cracked the walls he'd built. Zara's camera caught it all, the video destined for the world. The clip exploded online, millions marveling at the boy whose song bridged continents. Amadou, dazed by the attention, hid in Eleanor's embrace, unsure of fame's glare. Zara monitored the buzz, her screen alight with comments. But one viewer saw more than talent. In a dimly lit room, Kofi leaned toward his laptop, his smirk cold as ever. "There you are," he muttered, recognizing the boy he'd sold. He dialed a number, voice low. "Samba, our little gold mine's back, on a time to collect." Samba's laugh crackled through the line, greedy and cruel. Eleanor sensed a shift, her instincts prickling. A man approached her at the market, his accent Malian, claiming to be a cultural researcher. "Your son's birthmark," he said, eyes too keen. "Does it resemble a star?" Eleanor stiffened, deflecting. "He's just a boy." The man smiled too smoothly and vanished into the crowd. Her heart raced. She knew that look, the same hunger Kofi had shown in Bamako. She locked the manuscript tighter, vowing to shield Amadou, but dread coiled in her gut. Was his past catching up? Amadou stood on the porch, the city's jazz a restless pulse. His song had freed something in him, but the world's eyes felt heavy. What did his birthmark mean? Why did Eleanor's smile falter? The night whispered secrets he wasn't ready to hear. How's Amadou's song resonating with you? Drop your thoughts below. Where are you reading and when? What's lurking in his past? Stay with us. The shadows are closing in, and the twist will grip your heart. The French Quarter's neon glow faded into memory, but Amadou's voice lingered in the hearts of millions. His Desert Winds South, a global anthem. At 13, he stood taller, though still small, his eyes carrying the weight of a past he couldn't name. New Orleans buzzed around him, its jazz a restless pulse, yet the star-shaped birthmark on his shoulder burned with questions. Eleanor's guarded glances, the stranger's probing words about his mark, they haunted him. He clutched his notebook, its pages filled with lyrics, seeking answers in the melodies that flowed like Mali's rivers. School was no easier. The bullies had quieted since Zara's fierce defense, but whispers followed Amadou. "That viral kid's too weird." Zara, now his shadow, scoffed at them, her laptop always open. "Ignore those losers," she said, tweaking his social media. "Your fans are worldwide now." Amadou forced a smile, but fame felt like a spotlight he hadn't chosen. Ms. Harper, his music teacher, pushed him forward. "You're booked for the Superdome," she announced, her grin wide. "Biggest stage yet." Amadou's stomach churned. Could he face thousands? Eleanor sensed his unease, her own fears mounting. The researcher's visit gnawed at her, his Malian accent too calculated. She unlocked her study, pulling out the manuscript about Mali's musical lineage. Its pages yellowed with tales of leaders marked by stars, their songs uniting tribes. "Amadou," she said one evening, her voice soft but heavy, "your birthmark, it might mean something." She showed him a sketch of a star, identical to his. A family in Mali, long ago, used music to heal. Amadou's eyes widened, his heart racing. "Am I one of them?" Eleanor hesitated. "Maybe, but you're my son first." Driven by curiosity, Amadou slipped into the city library, its shelves towering like ancient baobabs. Zara tagged along, her fingers tapping her phone. "What's this obsession?" she teased, but helped him scan books on Mali. He found a passage about the Keeper of Tunes, a leader whose songs quelled wars, marked by a star. "This feels like me," Amadou whispered, his voice trembling. Zara's eyes softened. "Then sing it, Amadou. Own your story." He nodded, a new song forming, one that called to ancestors he'd never known. But danger circled closer. Kofi, hidden in shadows, watched Amadou's rise with greed. He met Samba in a grimy bar, their plans sharpening. "The boy's a gold mine now," Kofi said, his voice smooth as venom. "We snag him at the Superdome." Samba, heavier and meaner, grinned. "What's he worth?" Kofi slid a burner phone across. "Enough to bury your debts. I've got a hacker to kill the lights." Unseen, Zara's algorithms caught a flicker of their chatter online, a coded message about the small singer. She frowned, alerting Eleanor, who hired a security team, her heart pounding with dread. The Superdome night arrived, a sea of lights and roaring fans. Amadou stood backstage, his Kora-inspired guitar slung low, nerves electric. Zara adjusted his earpiece, whispering, "You've got this." Eleanor gripped his hand, her smile tight. Ms. Harper beamed from the wings. When Amadou stepped onto the stage, The crowd's cheer shook him, but he closed his eyes, summoning Molly's sands. He sang Call of the Ancestors, a folk tune he'd found in the library, its djembe rhythm pulsing through the arena. The audience swayed, caught in a trance, their faces alight with awe. Critics later called it a mass catharsis, a psychological wave sparked by raw emotion. Amadou's voice, pure and piercing, seemed to weave their souls together. The song ended, and the crowd erupted, but Zara's earpiece crackled. Security's tight, but something's off, she muttered, scanning her laptop. Eleanor's eyes darted to the exits, sensing Kofi's hand. The viral video of Amadou's performance spread faster than fire, catching the eye of a group in Mali. The Keepers, scholars guarding cultural relics. They emailed Eleanor, their message cryptic. Your son bears the mark of our lineage. His music carries our legacy. Eleanor's breath caught, the manuscript's truth now undeniable. Amadou left the stage, exhilarated yet drained, unaware of the email or the eyes tracking him. Zara pulled him aside, her face grim. Someone's watching, Amadou. I found weird messages online. He shivered, the birthmark prickling. Eleanor joined them, her voice low. We're safe for now, but we need to be careful. The Superdome's lights flickered, a glitch Zara traced to a failed hack attempt. Kofi's plan had faltered, but his shadow lingered. On the porch that night, Amadou strummed his guitar, the city's jazz blending with his thoughts. His song had moved thousands, but who were the Keepers? Why did his past feel like a hunter's net? The stars above offered no clarity, only a call to sing on. What's Amadou's song stirring in you? Share below. Where are you reading and when? Who's hunting him? Stay with us. The secrets are unraveling and the twists will seize your soul. The Superdome's echo faded, but Amadou's heart still raced, his call of the ancestors reverberating in his soul. At 16, he stood on Eleanor's porch, the New Orleans night thick with jasmine and unease. The Keeper's email, your son bears the mark of our lineage, hung heavy, its words a riddle tying him to Molly's past. His star-shaped birthmark itched, a silent demand for truth. Zara's warning about online threats lingered, her laptop's glow a constant in their late-night talks. Someone's out there, she'd said, her voice tense. Amadou strummed his guitar, its core-like notes a shield against the unknown. Eleanor moved through the house, her steps quick, eyes scanning shadows. The Keeper's message confirmed her fears. Amadou's heritage was no mere story. She clutched her phone, coordinating with the security team hired after the Superdome glitch. He's safe, she told herself, but dread coiled tighter. Amadou caught her glance, his voice soft. You're scared, aren't you? She forced a smile. Just be careful, my star. The word star stung, echoing the manuscript's tales of Mali's musical guardians. She hadn't told him all, not yet. Dawn broke and chaos struck. Amadou woke to a silent house. Eleanor's coffee mug cold on the counter. A note scrawled in jagged ink lay beside it. Bring the boy to the docks, or she's gone. His breath hitched, the room spinning. Kofi's face flashed in his mind, that cold smirk from Bamako's market. He called Zara, his voice cracking. They took her. Zara arrived, her backpack stuffed with tech. We'll find her, she said, her eyes fierce. Her fingers flew over her laptop, tracing the note's clues to a derelict warehouse by the Mississippi's edge. Zara hacked into traffic cams, spotting a van near the docks. That's them, she muttered, pulling up grainy footage of Kofi's men. Amadou's hands shook, but Zara's calm anchored him. We need a plan, she said. You're the bait. They want you. Amadou nodded, fear warring with resolve. For Eleanor, I'll do it. Zara rigged a burner phone with a tracker, syncing it to her system. I'll guide you, she promised, her voice steady. They slipped into the city's underbelly, New Orleans jazz now a distant wail. The warehouse loomed, its rusted walls swallowing light. Amadou approached alone, guitar slung across his back, the burner phone buzzing with Zara's updates. Security's en route, she whispered through his earpiece. Inside, Eleanor sat bound, her face bruised but defiant. Kofi stood over her, his smile venomous. The little singer, he drawled, clapping slowly. You've grown slightly. Amadou's fists clenched. his voice steady. Let her go. Kofi laughed, gesturing to a man in the shadows. Samba, heavier, his eyes bloodshot with greed. You're mine again, boy, Samba growled, stepping forward. Amadou's heart pounded, memories of belt lashes flooding back. Kofi circled him, voice low. You'll sing for my clients. Big money in a voice like yours. Eleanor's eyes met Amadou's, urging him to stall. He gripped his guitar, strumming a soft note, its kora echo filling the space. Why me? He asked, buying time. Samba snorted, his words slurred. You ain't even mine. Some nomad dumped you on Malik and Aisha with a note. Protect this child or our legacy's lost. The words hit like a storm. Amadou staggered, the guitar slipping. Not Samba's kin? The nomad's note? The birthmark? The keeper's email? They wove a truth he couldn't grasp. Zara's voice crackled in his ear. Now! Her signal triggered the burner's GPS, guiding the security team. Amadou sang, his voice rising with desert wind, its notes a defiance that rattled Kofi. Eleanor twisted free, kicking a guard. Zara's recorded evidence, Samba's confession, blared from hidden speakers, stunning the men. Sirens wailed, and the team stormed in, cuffing Kofi and Samba. Eleanor pulled Amadou close, her voice choked. You're so brave, my star. Zara joined them, her grin triumphant. Told you we'd win. But Amadou's mind reeled, Samba's words echoing, dumped by a nomad. He touched his birthmark, its star a map to a past he didn't know. Eleanor's eyes held secrets, her manuscript now a key he needed. The keeper's words, his music carries our legacy, felt closer, urgent. Back on the porch, Amadou strummed, the city's jazz a restless undercurrent. Zara sat beside him, her laptop dark for once. We'll figure it out, she said, her hand on his. Eleanor watched from the doorway, her resolve hardening. Molly called, its sands hiding answers. Who was the nomad? What legacy did Amadou carry? The night held its breath, waiting for his next note. How's Amadou's courage hitting you? Share below. Where are you reading, and when? What's his legacy? Stay close. The truths are tightening, and the twists will steal your breath. The New Orleans dawn was soft, but Amadou's heart thundered, the nomad's note. Protect this child, or our legacy's lost, searing his mind. At 18, he stood taller, though still slight, his star-shaped birthmark a compass pointing to Mali. The keeper's call, an urgent letter tucked in Eleanor's bag, had pulled them from the warehouse's chaos to a journey across oceans. A temple holds your truth, the letter read, its words a beacon. Amadou gripped his Kora-inspired guitar, its strings humming with purpose, as Zara's voice cut through his thoughts. Ready for this, hero? She teased, her laptop slung over her shoulder. Eleanor's eyes, shadowed with worry, met his. We'll face this together, she said, her voice firm despite the fear Kofi's escape stirred. Samba's confession had cracked Amadou's world, but Eleanor's love held it together. Zara, ever vigilant, had traced Kofi's digital footprints to Mali, his greed undeterred by handcuffs that hadn't held. He's after something big, she warned, her screen flashing with coded messages. The trio boarded a plane, New Orleans jazz fading behind, the desert's call growing louder. Mali's sands greeted them, vast and unforgiving, the sun a relentless eye. Nia, a keeper with braided hair and a gaze like steel, met them at a dusty outpost. The temple's ancient, she said, her voice rich with pride. Your lineage, Amadou, sang to unite our people. Her words stirred him, the birthmark tingling as if alive. They trekked through dunes, storms roar testing their resolve. Amadou hummed Desert Wind, its notes steadying his pulse, Zara's hand brushing his in silent support. Eleanor clutched the manuscript, its pages a map to truth she'd shielded him from. The temple rose from the sand, its stone carved with kora players and star-marked figures. Inside, cool shadows embraced them, walls etched with tales of the Keeper of Tunes. Amadou traced a carving, its star mirroring his own. This is me, he whispered, voice thick. Nia nodded. Your songs carry their spirit. He set his guitar down, fingers grazing the stone, and sang an old Malian folk tune, Voice of the Sands. The notes echoed, filling the chamber, as if the temple itself sang back. Zara's eyes widened, Eleanor's glistened, and Nia's face softened, the music binding them to history. But danger shattered the reverence. Kofi's men burst in, their boots defiling the sacred ground. Kofi, leaner but no less venomous, smirked. "Thought you'd hide here, boy?" he taunted, a knife glinting in his hand. "Those carvings? Worth a fortune to the right buyer." Eleanor stepped forward, voice fierce. "You'll take nothing." Zara's fingers flew over her phone, signaling local allies Nia had rallied. Amadou grabbed his guitar, strumming Voice of the Sands again, its rhythm fierce, rallying their spirits. "You can't steal my song," he said, eyes locked on Kofi's. The music surged, a pulse that steadied Nia's fists and Zara's focus. Nia lunged, disarming a guard, her movements swift as a gazelle. Zara's signal brought a roar of engines. Malian rangers, summoned by the keepers, stormed the temple. Kofi slashed wildly, but Amadou's song held, its notes a shield. Eleanor tackled him, her strength born of love, pinning him until rangers cuffed him. The fight drained Amadou, his knees buckling as the guitar slipped, his breath ragged. Zara caught him, her voice soft. "You did it, Amadou." In the temple's quiet aftermath, Amadou sank against a carving, exhaustion claiming him. His eyes closed, and memories flooded. Malik teaching Cora, Aisha's stories, their faces vivid. "Your strength's in your heart," they seemed to say, their voices warm, not blood, but chosen kin. He woke, tears streaming, to Eleanor's hand on his. "They loved you," she said, reading his face. "They weren't your blood, but they were your home." Amadou nodded, the nomad's note now clear. His legacy was music, not relics, a song to heal and unite. Nia knelt beside him, her voice reverent. "You're our keeper now." Amadou touched his birthmark, its star no longer a burden, but a promise. Zara grinned, her phone buzzing with news of Kofi's arrest. Eleanor hugged him, her manuscript forgotten, its truths now lived. The temple's echoes lingered, Mali's sands whispering of home. Back under Mali's stars, Amadou strummed, the desert's pulse blending with jazz in his memory. Who was the nomad who left him? What song would he sing next? The night held answers, soft as a chora's hum. What's Amadou's strength sparking in you? Share below. Where are you reading, and when? What's his next song? Stay with us. The legacy unfolds and the twist will bind your heart. The Malian temple's echoes lingered in Amadou's soul, its carved stars mirroring the mark on his shoulder. At 20, he stood on a New Orleans balcony, the city's jazz a heartbeat beneath the dusk. Mali had forged him anew. Malik and Aisha's vision, their words, "your strength in your heart," had lit a fire. The keepers had named him their heir, a guardian of music's unifying power, but the nomad who left him remained a shadow. Amadou strummed his Cora-inspired guitar, its notes a bridge between deserts and bayous, as Zara's laughter broke his reverie. "Dreaming of Mali again?" she teased, her eyes warm. Eleanor joined them, her smile radiant, the weight of Kofi's threat now a fading scar. "Your album's ready," she said, holding a demo of Desert Legacy, a tapestry of Malian Cora and New Orleans blues that had critics buzzing. Amadou's fame had soared since the Superdome, his songs anthems of hope. Yet he sought more than applause. "I want to give back," he told Eleanor, his voice firm. Together they launched a foundation for Malian orphans, channeling his earnings to build schools and music programs. Eleanor, his anchor, became his advisor, her pride a quiet glow. Zara, now his closest ally, managed the foundation's tech. Her hacking days traded for coding platforms that connected donors worldwide. "You're changing lives," she said, her laptop screen flashing with pledges. Amadou grinned, her belief fueling him. His next goal loomed, a global concert at the New Orleans Arena, a beacon for peace and support for conflict-torn children. "Let's make it huge," he told Zara, sketching set lists that wove desert wind with new tracks like Unity's Pulse. Eleanor coordinated logistics, her manuscript's lessons, music as a unifier, guiding their vision. The arena night arrived, a constellation of lights and roaring fans. Amadou paced backstage, guitar in hand, the birthmark tingling as if Mali's sands stirred within him. Zara adjusted his mic, her grin fierce. World's watching, Amadou. Eleanor squeezed his shoulder, her eyes glistening. Miss Harper, now a mentor, nodded from the wings. The stage blazed gold, screens flashing images of Malian children playing kora. Amadou stepped forward, the crowd's cheer a tidal wave. This is for those who've lost their song, he said, voice steady, before launching into Desert Wind. The arena sang along, its melody a thread binding hearts across continents. Mid-set, Amadou paused, sweat gleaming, to share his story. I was sold, mocked, lost, he said, voice raw. But music, family, and Mali's spirit lifted me. Let's lift others. The crowd roared, donations flooding Zara's platform. A ripple stirred in the wings. Zara beckoned, her face alight. I found her, she whispered, pointing to a figure in a hooded cloak. Amadou's heart skipped. The nomad elder, traced through Zara's relentless digital hunt, had come from Mali's dunes to this stage. The crowd hushed as she stepped forward, her face weathered, eyes deep as the desert night. I am Awa, she said, her voice carrying like wind over sand. She held a kora, its wood etched with stars, and offered it to Amadou. You are my kin, child of my sister's line, a daughter of Mali's keepers. The arena gasped, Amadou's hands trembling as he took the kora. Awa's words flowed, soft but unyielding. Our family led tribes, their songs quelling strife, marked by the star you bear. Enemies hunted us, and I left you with Malik and Aisha to save you. Her eyes glistened, regret mingling with pride. They guarded you as I could not. Amadou's throat tightened, the kora's weight a tether to his past. Malik and Aisha's faces flashed, their love now eternal. Why now? He asked, voice breaking. Awa touched his cheek. Your music woke our legacy. You're ready. The crowd, silent, erupted in applause, screens broadcasting Awa's kora to millions. Amadou strummed its strings, joining Unity's pulse, the notes a fusion of his journey. Zara's platform crashed from donations, and the world moved by his truth. Backstage, Eleanor embraced him, tears falling. You're our star always, she said. Zara grinned, her arm around Awa. Told you we'd find her. Amadou held the kora, its stars mirroring his own, a legacy not of power, but of healing. The arena's light bathed them, New Orleans jazz entwining with Mali's soul. On the balcony later, Amadou played, the city's rhythm a canvas for his dreams. Awa's story had closed one wound, but questions lingered. What would his music build next? The stars above pulsed, urging him forward. What's Amadou's legacy igniting in you? Share below. Where are you reading and when? What's his next note? Stay with us. The song's crescendo nears, and the twists will light your heart. The New Orleans arena's golden light still danced in Amadou's memory. Awa's kora, a talisman in his hands. At 25, he stood on a Bamako rooftop, Mali's stars blazing above, his birthmark a quiet pulse of pride. The nomad elder's truth, his lineage of song-weaving leaders, had rooted him, but his heart soared with a new family. Zara, now his wife, leaned against him, her laughter bright as the desert moon. Lost in your songs again? She teased, her fingers tracing the chorus stars. Amadou grinned, kissing her forehead, their love a melody born from years of shared battles. Their home in New Orleans, a cozy haven of ivy and jazz, thrummed with life. Aisha, their adopted 6-year-old from a Malian orphanage, twirled in the living room, her giggles echoing. Named for Amadou's mother, she clutched a toy kora, mimicking his strums. Sing, Papa, she demanded, her eyes mirroring his own. Amadou obliged, his voice weaving desert wind, its notes a lullaby tying Mali to their bayou nights. Zara watched, her laptop dark, her hacker days now poured into their foundation. She's your mini-me, she said, her smile soft. Eleanor, ever their anchor, visited often, her study now a gallery of Amadou's journey. Photos from the arena, Awa's kora, the manuscript open at last. You've built a legacy, she told him, her eyes glistening. Together they'd founded a music school in Bamako, its mud brick halls alive with children playing kora and djembe. Amadou taught there, his songs sparking joy in young faces who'd known loss like his own. Music heals, he'd say, watching Aisha strum her first chord, her tiny hands fierce with promise. The school's opening drew crowds, Bamako's air thick with dust and celebration. Amadou stood before a stage under the moon, the same sky that had once heard his childhood song. Zara managed the live stream, connecting donors worldwide, while Eleanor greeted Malian elders. Aisha, clutching her kora, joined Amadou, her voice a shy echo of his. They sang Unity's Pulse, its rhythm a heartbeat of Mali's past and future. The crowd swayed, torches flickering, as children from the school added djembe beats, their smiles brighter than the stars. Mid-song Nia, the keeper from the temple, approached, her braids silvered with time. She handed Amadou a letter, sealed with a star. "From the keepers," she whispered, her eyes warm. Amadou paused, the crowd hushed, sensing a moment. He opened it, his voice steady as he read aloud. "Your legacy, Amadou, is not power or relics, but the song that binds hearts. You've fulfilled our lineage's call, to heal, to unite through music's truth." The words struck deep, his birthmark tingling as if the stars themselves sang. The crowd roared, Aisha hugging his leg, Zara's tears catching the firelight. Amadou's eyes found Eleanor's, her pride a mirror to Malik and Aisha's memory. "This is for them," he said, strumming again, the chora's notes soaring. Images flickered in his heart. Malik's calloused hands, Aisha's stories, Awa's weathered face. They weren't blood, yet their love had carved his path. "Your song's in you," they'd whispered in that temple vision, now a truth he lived. The keeper's letter redefined his star, not a mark of duty, but of connection, his music a bridge for souls across time and tides. The concert ended with Desert Wind, its chords a vow to keep singing. Aisha's voice joined, small but fierce, carrying Mali's hope. Zara's stream crashed from global cheers, donations flooding their foundation, schools rising in Mali's name. Nia bowed, a gesture of respect, as the keeper's legacy passed to Amadou's hands. Eleanor embraced him, her voice choked. "You're our star, always." Zara ruffled Aisha's hair, whispering, "Our little keeper." Back in New Orleans, Amadou stood on their porch, the city's jazz a soft undercurrent. Aisha slept inside, her toy Cora by her side. Zara leaned close, her hand in his. "What's next, my singer?" she asked, her eyes alight. Amadou smiled, the Cora's stars gleaming in his mind. He'd sing on, for Mali, for New Orleans, for every child seeking a song. The keeper's truth, music as unity, lit his path, a legacy brighter than any crown. The stars above sang, their harmony eternal. Amadou's voice rose, soft as a desert breeze, ready for new melodies. What songs would Aisha weave? What hearts would his music touch? The night held promises as vast as Mali's sands. What's Amadou's harmony stirring in you? Share below. Where are you reading and when? What's his next melody? Thank you for joining us. His song lives on, and your heart carries its echo. Amadou's song, from Bamako's shadows to starlit stages, has woven a tapestry of courage and love. His journey from a boy sold in chains to a keeper of music's unity lives in our hearts. Thank you for walking this path with us, for feeling every note. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Join our family for more stories that stir the soul. Share your thoughts below. Where are you listening and what moved you? Amadou's harmony echoes on. What will his next song inspire? Stay with us for tales that light the world.